Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, we'll be talking about the build-up preparations for the general elections, and you heard the Speaker of the House of Representatives lamenting the outcome of some of the primaries. Well, we'll speak to that in a moment. Well, we've got two gentlemen joining us this morning to weigh on that subject matter and more. Mr. Mike Igini is here with us in our Lagos studios. He's the resident electoral commissioner for Akwa Ibom State. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. It's my pleasure to meet you.
Well,
thank you.
We also have Honorable Leke Abejide, who is the chairman, House Committee on Customs and Excise. He's a member representing Yagba East, Yagba West, and Mapuro Federal Constituency for Kogi State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program as well. Well,
good morning, Chamberlain. Good morning, Nigerians.
Honorable, listen to the Speaker in that narrative, what he was talking about, what transpired in the states, how they didn't get a fair share, the Electoral Act, direct primaries. But of course, you know that some of the immediate reaction would be from a lot of people is that, well, the lawmakers dug their own grave because the laws with which all of those were conducted emanated from the National Assembly. Isn't that right?
It is not right. It is not correct.
That you made the laws?
Chamberlain, if you...
What part is not correct?
Can you hear me?
What part is not correct? That the National Assembly made the laws?
Why I say it's not correct is that, you know, the Electoral Act that will pass in the first place only is for direct primaries. If you remember, I came to this same studio. I was invited when there was so much noise about the direct primary will be so expensive, and I raised a motion on the floor that we need to invite the INEC national chairman to come and explain to Nigerians how much will it cost to hold direct primary for all parties. Because if you look at it, direct primary is the easiest way to go for every member of the political party to participate. But when you go to delegate election, it's controlled by those who have the party structure. And there is no how a credible candidate can emerge. That is how it is. So the best legislators are out of the chamber.
So what laws? Pardon me, what laws did the political parties rely on to conduct the primaries?
If you see, we have three options in that law. We have direct, indirect, and consensus. They rely only on indirect, only. All political parties rely only on indirect because that is the only one they can manipulate. So when it comes to direct, it will become so difficult for them to manipulate. They rely only on indirect. They've forgotten about other options. And that is what we're fighting for.
Did the political parties violate that law that you speak about?
Well, it's already a law, and the options were not there before. But the president didn't sign and say unless we add the two options, that is indirect and
Honorable, you seem to be answering your own questions.
The law because it's already in the law.
They didn't violate the law, and National Assembly made the law. So why the hue and cry?
In the first place, it was not the law we made. This one is like the executive arm of the government made this particular law because they were the one that persisted that we have to add these two options. In the first law that came out from the National Assembly, there was no indirect and there was no consensus. I can say direct election was our own law. But because the executives and party leaders wanted something different, they insisted that we have to add these two options, which we did. We already know it's going to work against the National Assembly.
In other words, you're saying the same thing. The National Assembly made the law. Whether you were twisted, your hands were tied, you made the law, you passed the law. And that is the law.
I agree with you. We made the law, we passed the law. But this is just a lesson to us. Next time, if it comes this way, there's no option than to veto the president. Because if you allow it to be going this way, I want to assure you, I said it here in this studio, that all these youth that are moving around that they want to participate, they will never participate. Because when it is indirect, they will not have chance to come in. Number one, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be a money-backed system. And you can see it. Even in the PDP primaries, today, people are still singing, people are buying vehicle, naming it delegate vehicle. Because where will you expect somebody, a fresh graduate, or a youth that is not employed or is just doing a menial job, to get $20,000 or $25,000 to give a delegate? So this is what we were running for. And then, now it has happened. It's affecting everybody. National Assembly members are not as rich as the executives. They have nothing to offer. Well, and that is why most of them are out.
Well, I don't know how many listeners will believe what you've just said now, but in the meantime, all of those political parties, you're almost...
They will believe I don't take allocation. I don't have any allocation I'm taking every month. Executive take allocation every month. They take in billions. Well, so where will I get the money?
You're paid in the National Assembly. You're not doing it pro bono. You have your allowances. You have your statutory allowances. You have your basic allowances. You have aids, several aids attached to you as a lawmaker, paid for by taxpayers. Isn't that correct?
I'm being paid. I can show you my pay. My salary is 697,000 naira as I speak to you. Well, then, if you talk of allowances, I don't take allowance. See, when I came into the National Assembly as a new member, if a new member comes, 2 years, he will still be learning the rope. In the 3rd year, by the time he said he wants to settle down, the new election cycle comes in. So he will not be able to even stabilize as a first-timer. And the allowances that are supposed to even come to me, I'm using it to do empowerment in my constituency. Well, I don't even have a dime from it.
Well, you said that you will
And that is what most members are doing. If you look at this 9th Assembly...
Just a minute.
Just wait. If you look at this 9th National Assembly...
Hang on a minute.
There has never been any assembly...
Just a minute, Honorable BJ. You say that you can show us your pay. Are you telling Nigerians now that you will deposit or show us your pay slip so we can corroborate what you have just told Nigerians now?
I can show you. I can show Nigerians.
When?
I can show what I'm getting. I always get my salary.
When will you show us?
Of the following month. I can show you. I have it.
Okay, let's see it.
I have my alert.
Oh. I thought you, okay, well, if you want to show us that one, show us so that we can show Nigerians so it's not your word against theirs, or that kind of narrative. But at the moment now, we've got Mr. Mike again here. We'll take you up on that. We want to see that. You, the one who said you'll show us. So let us see it, and then we'll tell Nigerians as well. Well, in the meantime, there will be no next time, at least in the next 4 years, for those politicians who have lost. He says that next time when the law happens, they won't do any such thing. But Mr. Guinea, this particular subject matter, we discussed this almost a year ago now. And it appeared as though now it fell on deaf ears because hundreds of them will not be coming back.
Well, Chamberlain, thank you very much. As you said, just a year ago, sometime in June last year, I adhered to the debate about which form of mode of primary should be adopted for this country. Mm-hmm. I was invited to your station for a conversation on this matter, and we provided technical information to guide the lawmakers and all stakeholders to pick a mode that will be better for the sustainability of our democracy. I was very clear, and I gave out statistics from 2003 to 2019, showing clearly the rate of attrition. And I made those technical information available because of the fact that democracy, in its classical traditional sense, is a fragile construct, extremely vulnerable. And that is why it has to be protected and guarded. And to guide democracy, and whether the institution of representative democracy will have a hopeful future in any country, it is predicated on the choices we make through party primaries. Now, that is the first gatekeeping exercise of the leadership recruitment process, because the choices we are called upon voters to make on the day of election are choices already made by those who have influence and power. That is the theory of John Scupiter. And when the issue came up, I made the point very clear that there is no form or mode of system that is not vulnerable, that cannot be manipulated. But however, given the extremities of the various modes, that the decision of the National Assembly to go for direct primary will be the best, having regard to the fact that that process is the key. And I was very clear when they talked about consensus. I gave out the weaknesses, the advantages of each of them. And I said that the consensus as provided by the Constitution in the Electoral Act is dead on arrival. It cannot achieve anything.
So did it come across to you as though some members in the National Assembly did not even understand this law that they were signing or putting their signature to?
I don't know. But the point is that what we have before us are too much. Students of international institutions will tell you that what led to the collapse of the League of Nations, among other factors, was the principle of unanimity. Thinking that all those who fight the First World War, that they will agree together for the maintenance of international peace and security. But during the outbreak of the North-South Korea War, it was clear that you cannot achieve unanimity, everybody agreeing. And so when you have in the Electoral Act that you require the consent of all aspirants, that will never happen. It was dead on arrival. Because ab initio, there was even no consensus on the pillars of consensus.
But the National
Now, on indirect primaries, which is favored by the political class, and unfortunately, for some act of self-abnegating action, statutory delegates have always been part of the process. Somehow, by virtue of the current provision, they excluded themselves from the process. And they could not influence, impact the process, and left everything in the hands of governance. This is what they call an additional powers for 36 state governors that are exercising unwholesome power in the country at the moment. They determine who should be a councillor, who should be a local government chairman, who will be a commissioner, who will be a minister, even who will be their successor. You will now give that power to them. The result is what we are saying now. But we must take note. So when we talk about direct primary, which is the last one in the mix, direct primary approximates what you call through some level of direct democracy.
So what are the extremes of direct primaries that the parties were avoiding?
Yes. Now, with indirect, the deployment of resources, vote buying, which is nothing but a devaluation of the ballot, and with respect to primary process, it's a tragedy, because the biggest spending for vote buying happens at the level of the primaries. In fact, at that level, we deal with foreign currencies. I know we are going to carry the stick when we want to deal with the poor people who are also going to do their own. But the point is that it's more easier to deal with that. But when you are dealing with direct primary, what are the issues? The issue is that you must have a register of your members. You know that under Section 9 of the Act, INEC, before the coming election, will make available to all political parties register of members. How do you explain that over 22 years of the practice of democracy, political party do not have credible register of their members? Because with register of members, in line with section 77 of the current 2022 Electoral Act, it has to be submitted to INEC. Because what used to happen when they talk about direct primaries before now was that laptops are given to party supporters to be registering members. Even before the day of election, people are registering number. You don't know the total number. But in the 2019 election, we were able to give the register, which is the practice required by law, and we had 84,004,084. And that copy given to political party. So it will not change. You will be able to know where the votes are. But you don't have that with political parties. So the way we should go, and in any case, let's not be very clear. The train have left the station at the moment. All this matter we are talking about.
They say they want to re-amend.
Yeah, they want to re-amend.
No, the point is that it will serve for the purpose of the future.
Yeah.
For what has passed, it is concluded. Political primaries have been concluded.
So what do you suggest if they were to re-amend it for the future?
If they are meant for future, in my considered opinion, having studied across the globe, the behavior of political elites is that you should go for direct primaries. Because the idea that we should not tie political party to one option when we have a democracy with attenuated participation and control by the ordinary people, and the fact that democracy is a fragile construct, it needs to be protected and guarded. And the way we should go is to go for direct, as my proposal suggestion, because to tie up this point is that we have aristocracy, we have monarchy, we have democracy. Why are we not? We have military options.
Should we
why are we not saying that we should leave all of these options and we embrace democracy? We embrace democracy because of its attributes.
Would it be a good thing if they include in the law, since INEC usually gives them lists of political party, the members in those parties, would it be out of place if they put it in the law saying, look, if you have to conduct direct primaries, it has to be with the authentic register of party members?
It's already there under section 77. The point he made, which you and I underscored on June last year before they went on recess, in terms of the rate of attrition. Remember that when we came in 1999, the first set of legislators were sent outside the country. We spent so much money in training them. You know, people were taken out of the country.
No, but what I meant was that, is that we had party members here about that time, even much later. And this same question came across. And they said, well, look, we need help from INEC. That even that so-called list, there are big lacuna concerning that particular list, that they needed INEC to come in and help.
Good.
So all of that, they say, was not sufficient.
This is the way you go. By virtue of section 19 of the current Electoral Act, INEC, we have to, not later than 90 days, make available a register of Nigerians for 2023 election. Now, before we do that, under that section 19, we have 7 days to do what we call publication for objections and claims. So when political party members, they register, they are required to paste in the various wards for party members to check whether their names are there. It is after what they call the PVR, preliminary voter review, that they cannot have a final register. But to underscore this point that has been made, which is what we made the other time, was that when you have experienced people in lawmaking, they are not returning back, was not on account of the fact that they have been subjected to the people at the constituency, but because a few people delegate, we have to make that decision. And having regard to the investment that have been made, it is terrible. Because in 2003, out of the 100%, 70% did not return because of the failure. You see, all of this, you put it down to the doorstep of the lawmakers. In 2003, 70% did not return. Only 30% returned back. By 2007, it went up again, where we had the worst election in the country. 76% did not return. Only 24% returned back. By 2011, when we came aboard, to stem the tide of this level of attrition, to deal with internal party democracy, INEC, under the Jega leadership, we developed what we call a template. That template led to a reduction, in which case we had 68%. By 2019, it went up again to 69%. The highest return ever was only in 2019, when we had 56%, only 40% return. That is a danger, because we are now going to have new set of people. The point is that it is not that once you are in National Assembly, you must remain there forever. But the point is that you should be subjected to.
It's a good thing that you are referring to these years.
These are the data have shown. So it is because of the National Assembly. And one thing you must make clear here, even though all arms of government, there's only one to which all must bow, the judiciary. I want to say here that the National Assembly, the Parliament, is the most powerful arm of government in any democracy. In fact, literally speaking, beyond issue about public policy, National Assembly, the Parliament, can legislate out of existence the executive and judiciary to tell you how powerful the National Assembly or the Parliament is. But if you don't understand your power for the public good and all of that, I mean, you could see even in 2019, who would have thought that the process would drag on?
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're making reference to these years where more than half of the Parliament did not return. So it would seem as if it's not Section 84(8) that is the problem here.
Absolutely, that is not the problem. And we were clear in that interview. We provided all the data to guide them. All right, we cannot say the other forms of government. I mean, Francis Fukuyama, when he made the point, the end of history and the last man, that perhaps we have tried other forms of government. It was clear that democracy appeared to be the end point of man's search for forms of government. So there are no systems that are so inherently so good and so really so bad. But we need some level of civic virtues. Who are the kind of people in politics? You cannot have a democracy without having Democrats, those who have imbibed sensitive values and principles.
So if direct primaries is the best, approach to adopt in electing their candidates, is the cost breakneck? And if it is more legitimate, shouldn't Nigeria be considering toeing that path?
Because when you go for direct primary, it will discourage this buying of people. Because how many members are you going to spend money on? That is the way we should go. But in any case, I think we should focus even more on other three, because this matter is for 2023 and beyond. So that's after 2023.
We have some grounds to cover.
As for the past one, it is gone.
We have some grounds to cover. I mean, transmission of results, CVR, substitution of candidates. We'll come to that in a minute. But let's get back to Honorable Abejide to get more perspective from him. Well, Honorable, I think I haven't seen any alert anyways. Still waiting. You said you were going to forward that alongside.
I have sent it to Seun Okinbaloye. I don't have your number. I have forwarded it to Seun Okinbaloye.
Seun Okinbaloye is not on this show, Honorable Abejide. That's an escapist.
That is his, I have his number. Send your number to me. I will send it to you right now.
But you were called.
I'm a straightforward person, and I say the truth all the time.
Well, someone invited you. They reached out to you and did the checks to bring you onto the show. Send it to that number.
Okay, I'm going to send it to...
Send it to that number. I'm not going to read my number on air to you, Honorable. Send it.
I'm going to send it to Otaigbe now.
Go ahead, send it. I want to see the slip as well, so I don't have to be the one answering Nigerians' questions. But about...
I will do it right now.
Well, yes, do go ahead, but you also respond to this question, if you can, while at it. Moving forward now, in terms of the conduct of the elections and how it turned out in political parties, we hear the National Assembly saying that they want to override the president or re-amend. So if you could just give us what the thinking is, what exactly is the National Assembly or the House seeking to correct here, if it's not too late already?
Of course, it's late because all primaries are concluded, but for the future, what we are trying to do is the omission of these statutory delegates that led to using of only ad hoc delegates. If you remember, we cut short of our break and we came back to correct that particular area, but till we finish the primaries, the president did not sign. And now we have learned our lessons. For us not to continue to fall into the same pit, we have to do the needful. This is just it. Now, you have heard it from my brother there, Magigini. He has said the correct thing as it is. And that was exactly what I said when I came here last year on this particular issue. And I was insisting that direct primary is the best way to go. See, if we embark on option A4, everybody will line up behind his candidate or the candidate of your choice. They will count you in the public. Everybody will see, yes, this is very transparent. But in this case of delegate election, for the highest bidder. If you don't have money, just get out of it. Because even though if you have money and your money is not enough, in the just concluded election, somebody called me that there is a delegate sharing $2,000, another was sharing $20,000. He collected that of $2,000 and went for the $20,000 on and voted for that one. He collected the two. So these are the kind of thing we were trying to run away from. And you have heard it from the honest part there seated, that it's not possible for you to give such humongous amount of money to all the members of the political party. It's never possible. So the best, if you look at 1993 election that we are now adjudging to be the best election, it was option A4. Why don't you go back to it? And that is the direct primary we are talking about. That is how it works.
Honorable Abejide, I want you to refer to the data given by Mr. Egini about how previous assemblies, most of the lawmakers did not return. So the problem really is not about the delegate system, which is the innovation in this new Electoral Act as amended. So really that's not the problem. I'd like you to respond to that.
The problem is about the delegate system. We know right from time, it is the same indirect primary we have been holding.
But in past assemblies, the innovation was not in the Act. In past assemblies, this innovation was not in the Electoral Act.
It has been there. Indirect primary has been there right from time.
The new delegate system was not there.
Even the direct was not there.
The new delegate system was not there.
It is this new delegate you are talking about is also indirect. Yes. It is also indirect that we are talking about. The delegate, always there, right from time, there's always been ad hoc. Ad hoc delegate has been there right from time. It's the same indirect primary. There's no difference. The only difference now is that the statutory did not vote. That's just the difference. The indirect has been there right from time immemorial.
So what about the attrition between...
This is the first time statutory did not vote.
What about the attrition between National Assembly members and their governors, which is also part of the problem now?
Come again?
The attrition, the differences between governors and the National Assembly members, which is also part of the problem, and which is why some key members of the Senate are not returning and have defected to other political parties.
If you remember very well, that is the issue. If a governor does not like your face, I remember in my state, the governor just look at, including the first-timers, and tell them and say, you are not going back. You are not going back. You go back. This is the person you want to use. You see, it's always good to have a legislator to be a governor, because you will know the importance of leaving your legislator to stay longer. The constituency will benefit. The more he stays, the better for the constituency, and the better for Nigeria, because he will have experience and have knowledge to be able to make laws that will be better for the country. But if you are bringing a new set of people, like me, I'm a new person, I stay 2 years, despite that I'm a fast learner, for me to be able to learn the rope. And in the 3rd year that we are entering, it's showing that I will not be able to do much, because the new election cycle has come in. I have to start struggling to participate. So when will I learn if I don't come back? When will I be able to know the job very well if I'm not a ranking member? That is why you see most members, if you look at National Assembly, most new members, some have not even said a word, because they are still learning up to this time. So it takes time for you to learn the rope. And if you keep on bringing new people, that is, we are going to continue to have bad laws in this country.
So
we
speaking
should try
about
to avoid this.
Yeah, Honorable, By the way, when we receive that alert, do we have your permission to put it on the screen for Nigerians to see that you truly sent it?
Please put it. Let Nigerians see it.
Okay, we'll do
I don't
that.
want anything in my constituency. Everybody knows me.
Okay, all right. So we'll do that.
I don't hide. I don't lie.
We'll do that in the course of the program so they can see and
they
ask
call
you
me
questions.
talk and do.
So, all right, we'll do that. So, speaking about new people, let me bring it to Mr. Guinea here. When he says new people, they won't have chance to learn the ropes. But there's also a clause in the Electoral Act about the process that is going on now, wherein after the names of candidates have been submitted, parties can substitute. There seems to be, I'm not sure if it's all clear, because some people may just think that, you know what, now that we have this time and consultation is going on, after we submit this thing, we can quickly just go ahead and change. We've seen the President of the Senate, we've seen different things, all inkling towards that narrative. What is the position on this matter?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, in any permissive society where there is total disregard for rules and regulations, such a society is not a viable one. Democracy cannot be sustained without the rule of law. The rule of law is a graceful ornament to an ordered society. And that is why my first admonition this morning, as part of our responsibility under Part 1, Section 2 of the Electoral Act, that we must educate Nigerians on civic knowledge, on democratic processes, because the greatest promise of democracy is information empowerment. All political parties should go and engage the services of lawyers to study scrupulously the 2022 Electoral Act to avoid problems, to avoid avoidable problems that will be fatal to their participation and their victory in the next election. And so, with respect to primaries, substitution, please take this off your head, anybody. It was in 2002 Electoral Act and 2006 Electoral Act that under Section 23 of the 2002 Electoral Act that you have a provision talking about changing of candidate. That if a party intends to change his candidate, he shall signify to the Electoral Commission. We saw what happened in 2003. People who emerged from primaries, overnight several of them were substituted. In fact, what is going on is that even when you have emerged in primaries, it's not yet over. You still have to spend money for leaders of political party to keep your name. You see, until the names are submitted to INEC, you are yet to hear the last of what is going on. So but that is where the law has to come in. That one of the greatest things that has happened, subject to full implementation, is the 2022 Act.
Yeah, but
because it has secured that, in the sense that, whereas what you contain in Section 23 of 2002 Electoral Act, what is contained in Section 33 of the 2006 Electoral Act, the law has changed. Under Section 33 of the current Act, political party shall not change a candidate that has emerged from that process. Only on the ground of, under Section 31, we call voluntary withdrawal. Voluntary withdrawal. Under the 2006 Electoral Act, it was withdrawal. Then what happened?
So Section 31.
31.
31.1.
Yes.
Every political party shall, not later than 60 days before the date appointed for a general election under the provisions of this Act, submit to the Commission in the prescribed forms the list of the candidates the party proposes to sponsor at the elections, provided that the Commission shall not reject or disqualify candidates for any reason whatsoever.
You are still reading the old Electoral Act. That is the confusion they have in the country right
this
now.
is what many of them are relying on.
That has been repealed.
So
it has been repealed.
A lot of them now are defecting because they've lost the election. They've gone to other political parties, or they have fielded pseudo candidates with the intention of substituting. Are they relying on the withdrawal part that you quoted now?
Great. Please let us get it right. The 2010 Electoral Act as amended had been effectively repealed. All references that can be made is to throw light on the current state of the law. So the references I made were to throw light. And the section you read right? was an old law. Under the current regime, Section 31 of the 2022 Act is clear that a nominated candidate who wishes to withdraw will do so in writing and shall deliver same to the political party that will forward same to INEC. And went further to say that no political party shall change a candidate except by withdrawal, which is going to be voluntary, and by virtue of Section 34, which is by incident or death. Yeah. And that's why I'm warning.
So that's what they're relying on.
Don't go and kill people because you want to be on the ballot. That's not what the law is saying.
Okay.
Death can occur. It is inevitable. It could occur either just before, after the delivery of nomination of
but there is voluntary withdrawal.
Yes, voluntary withdrawal. So when there is a voluntary withdrawal, you still have to go back again because you intend to present a candidate. You now go back to Section 84, subsection 1, which says that any political party that intend to present a candidate shall conduct primary.
All right.
That shall be monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission. And by virtue of Section 84, subsection 13, is to the effect that any political
there's a need for the repeat of that process.
Party that fails to do so,
all right, we need to go to break.
Shall have is a candidate
all right,
not accepted.
We had to read that 31 so people can know that, well, that clause refers to the old one if they are still relying on that one. So that is not the new one. That was the point intended in reading that one. But we'll look at some other sections of the new act and see what happens, whether or not any of these clauses can cure what Honorable Abejide referred to as his governor saying, you will go back, you cannot go back. We'll speak to those issues and more when we return in a moment. Don't go away.
Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, with one of the largest populations of youth in the world. The untapped potentials of this vibrant youth population are enormous, particularly as drivers of economic development and advocates for good governance. This is perhaps the reason why the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and Yiaga Africa are collaborating to sensitize and mobilize young people to register, get their permanent voters card and vote in the 2023 general elections.
If 60% of young people vote in the 2023 elections, I guess Nigeria will be a better place for all. We will get the leaders that we deserve, and it will also say a lot about our democracy. And what does 60% mean? 60% means about 29 million young people from across different parts of the country coming out to vote in the next elections.
The country representative of UNDP and program director Yiaga harps on the importance of having more Nigerian women contest for elective positions.
I think there's a recognition even of all the leaders I've engaged in Nigeria, that more needs to be done on political parties, but also on women's representation. This is extremely important. No country will ever prosper. Nigeria will never reach its potential if half of its population are not in the decision making. It's not only about voting. It's about women being in parliament, women being in government, women being in captains of industry, and etc. So from a UN side and UNDP specifically, the issue of women's political participation and economic participation is the critical ingredient for Nigeria to meet sustainable development goals.
Also want a lot of women to not just register, but to vote and begin to determine the outcome of the elections. So 60% of us is about young men, is about young women, is about young persons with disability. It's as inclusive as it gets. And there's a special project dedicated to just targeting women.
IAGA and UNDP are anticipating that this program will effectively galvanize young people to participate in the electoral process and choose leaders committed to delivering good governance.
All right, welcome back to Sunrise. We'll come to those other sections, as it were. But Honorable has made good his word. Honorable Abejide has sent the alert, which he spoke about. So if we can, let's go ahead and that is the alert Honorable Abejide sends to us about his May salary. So, Honorable, we had to remove the balance. We don't want any of those kidnappers trying to be funny now. So the balance is off.
Leave the balance there. Let everything be open. It's 700,000.
But Honorable Abejide, the real deal is in your allowances, not necessarily your
Where's the basics,
salary.
your travel allowance?
Yes.
What about those ones? How do we see those ones?
Which, according to reports,
So
is in the realm of about 9 million.
Okay.
9 million naira, if I'm correct.
No.
How many millions?
No. You see, can I talk?
Go ahead.
Okay. The allowance you are talking about, I just told you that, as a new member, when I came in order to satisfy my constituency, I have used my allowance. Number one, I have police, I have staff, personal staff. Then people in the constituency are also there waiting for me. So in a month, I don't think I even have up to 1.5 million. That's to me. And I have family to take care of. So if you are coming to this system, there was a time I was contemplating of leaving. If you are coming to this system and you are somebody who has been working on your own, you have been doing business, you will not like to continue. Because you will see the demand that is coming from your constituency in a month is in the range of 30 million, 40 million every day. I mean, every month. Somebody who children want to go to school, somebody who wants to go to hospital, somebody who wants to do marriage, somebody who wants to, do other things. It is only you they will be focusing on because they can't get the governor. You are the closest person to them. And if you don't do for them, then you have not done anything. So that is the danger in this assembly. That's why I even said it in my constituency. I was telling people that in the next election, I'm not going to contest, that they should allow somebody to come so that let the person also come and experience what I'm experiencing. But it's just because even before I came to government, I have been doing a lot for people. I have been paying wife fees for all my people. So people insisted that I must go. If you are not a man of means and you come to this seat, in 1 year, people will be stoning you. I know most of our members who voluntarily did not even participate because of what they experienced in this first period. It's not palatable at all. And I have just given you my salary. That is what I get every month. So I'm not even at the end of the month, on the 6th of the next month.
Okay, let me look at that again. So what we see here is 697,911.67 kobo, and the balance is 799,293.57 kobo. So is this the totality of everything you get in a month.
That is it. That is what I get. Let me give you one scenario.
Go ahead.
In 8th Assembly. Can I go ahead?
Sure.
In 8th Assembly, there was one of our colleagues that came from Adamawa State. He was working in an oil company. So what he was told that National Assembly is being paid, especially House of Oil, they are being paid 35 million monthly. And his take home was 15 million. He left the job and came. When he came the first month, I saw this meager amount. The second month, he saw the second meager amount. The third month, he now went to somebody who's ranking in his constituency, in his state, and asked him, said, this is what I've been receiving for the past 3 months. And the man said, that's what you will receive till you leave this place. And he said, what? The guy resigned and left and went back to his job. So it is people that are outside talking about National Assembly making money. Some of them are with us now. They are regretting it. They have seen it. So if it is possible, most of these people talking of humongous amount, we will have even allowed them to come. You see, the only difference you see is the constituency project. Like me, my constituency project in my state is 113 million in a year. And in this 113 million, government will take 18.5%. Let me break it down for you. There is tax, 5%. There is VAT, 7.5%. Stamp duty, 1%. Then the agency where the project is domiciled will take 5%. That's the minimum. Some take more than that. So what remains? If not for this government of Buhari that is releasing 100%, what will you take home to go and work at home? It is because this government now is doing well. It's releasing our capital 100%. That is why we are able to perform at home. If not, it would have been so disastrous for us.
Well, Honorable Abejide, not to belabor the point, but granted that you have said that you spend your allowance on your constituents, you know, by empowering them and all of that, but you didn't quite give us the exact figure of that allowance.
I cannot give you because what I'm getting, if you want me to forward to you now, I will look at it and also forward to you. You will see the balance it remains at every month. I will forward it to you. You will see what I'm getting at in a month and what it remains to come to me after all deductions.
Okay, so at the moment, we don't have all the figures right now with this alert that you sent to us. This is not all there is to it. Okay, so that people will know. Maybe if he sends us the slip, we can see the allowances, the breakdown, transport, hazard allowances, maybe all of those.
Then you will not see what is remaining for me as a legislator to run.
Okay, so when we get that, we can we'll take it from there. But moving forward, Mr. Guinea, now we want credible elections. He said scenarios as to where his governor will just wake up and say, if he doesn't like your face, you're not going back, you're not going back. That's not a democracy. At the moment, with the way things are, people want credible elections such that the results will be transparent. I know INEC has spoken a lot about some of these things, but there's still some questions about it. What should we expect in terms of the transparency and credibility of the results a la transmission?
Well, thank you very much. Elections are the principal instruments that compels public elected officials to pay attention to citizens. And that is why participation with the kind of renewed interest that we begin to see in terms of people wanting to register is quite interesting and exciting, having regard to the level of apathy we've had over time. So registration is one thing, coming out to vote is another thing. Now, voting in terms of the result which we're talking about, if votes do not count, then of course election becomes a mere ritual without actually voting. And so manipulation of all kinds is totally unacceptable. All the innovations that INEC has been putting in place, it will address historical challenges of election service delivery. Currently, if you look at the provision of Section 49 of the previous Repeal Act. These references are intended to pay attention to the current regime so that people should purge themselves of some of those things they do before, so that we don't have bad days gone, now we have new bad days. Under Section 49, subsection 1 and 2, it simply says, of the old act, now repealed by Section 47, it simply says that a voter wishing to vote, once he appears before the presiding officer, if the presiding officer is satisfied, underline that is the person, he will be allowed to vote and all that. That was the provision that had been used for buying of PVC, breaking into INEC offices, because all you need to do, connive with the presiding officer, all right, and people around there warehouse PVCs. So when you warehouse PVC on election day, if I deny people their PVC on election day, all right, all you need to do, give to all of them, the presiding officer, all you need to be just to be satisfied. And we've been calling for a repeal of Section 49 over time. Now, Section 47 has come into place. And what has it got to do here? It is that it has strengthened our operational independence. That a voter now, unlike the previous regime under the law, is that when you come before the presiding officer, you will be verified, will be authenticated using now our beavers. And we are now doing biomodal accreditation. If your fingers could not be confirmed, what about your face? And that's why it is biomodal accreditation. Once that is done, because election is a generic process that must have constitutive elements of accreditation. Once that is done, the implication of what we are doing right now is that we can produce a new register on election day. A new register is born because of the fact that once you come before the beavers, it's going to bring you out clearly. Now, once that is done, the next question is, which is the transfer. Yeah. Section 60 is very clear. It uses the word transfer. And you recall some time ago, I made a demonstration to show to you that all the fears about hacking and all of that, and I used my fingers, 5 fingers, that this is the polling unit, this is the work collation center, this is the local government, this is the state at all levels of collation. And I said, the notion out there, when they talk about hacking, is that they are looking at, imagine an electronic process of something transmitting in that process in an unbroken manner from one state to another, in which case, in between, there could be some form of introduction of foreign data. And I said, no. What we are doing now, using the beavers, is that when the polls shall have ended, and that the presiding officer, in the presence of party agent, have signed the result, have countersigned by the agent from EC60E, has been pasted at the polling unit, which you call the people from EC8A. Yeah. What you are required to do is to upload into the cloud. Remember, at the inception of GSM, when you lost your handset, I can't get in touch with you because I don't have your telephone number again. That is gone once you sign into the cloud. So what we actually do is to upload into the cloud. Once you upload into the cloud, nobody's in the original content, because once we are done with, you snap, the beavers will be used to snap the original result. And that's why today, as I sit down here, if I want to access the original result from EC8A of all the polling units in Edo State, in Ondo State, in Anambra State, you can have all of them. And that was why in some of those elections, we upgraded the portal to accommodate up to 2 million people.
Let's wind down with this now.
You can have access.
As you wind down,
so
just
the integrity of that process, with respect to the innovation, is to provide what we call electoral accountability.
Just a quick one.
The burden of proof on how well election is conducted.
Quick one before we bring in.
Must be on the commission.
Before we bring in.
That's why we are bringing innovation. We want to account
to wrap
for what
up
we
the
do
point
in the whole process.
Just one more thing before we bring in Obela Bejide to wrap up. As we wind down now, as quick as you can. Overnight collation of results used to be where they had a case, where my politicians manipulate the whole system. What is done to counter that?
That's what we just explained. We are doing at the moment we are doing Bermuda accreditation. We are also doing what they call dual collation of results.
So does it mean there will be no overnight collation of results?
Absolutely, because
so, my concern really is,
election can dovetail into the night.
Is it hack-proof?
Absolutely. All the places we have conducted the election, they are attempts, but there is sufficient firewall. But the point
that's highly debatable.
Is that somebody, this is very important. The work collation officer does not have to talk to the presiding officer because he has access to it. So woe betide a presiding officer coming with a hard copy. Mind you, both electronic and a hard copy, so that we can audit what
let's wind down.
With that, Nigerians, given that all of us working together to ensure that everybody works together, everything will be well. And that, the last point you must have to make on that is that if you look at this, the success of any election anywhere in the world, it does not rest only on the commission. Because if you look at the pyramid here, headquarters is the top, state is the state level, materials will be taken down here, they will go to the local government. As from the position of SPO, except now that we are changing to make sure that our staff are the one in charge, from the presiding officer down to the last point, it's actually Nigerians that are involved in the process. So the success of an election is a reflection of our collective value as a people, and its failure is also a reflection of our collective value.
Just one more thing from you. From what you heard and what you know about the process, do you think that this will cure the ill where you say your governor can come in and say you will not return? Will this in any way help that process?
Of course, yes. I believe what INEC is doing is going to change the narratives. People that are popular with the people will win the election. And I have said it, go and write it down. In the 10th Assembly, you will see a lot of small parties having representatives, even more than the major parties. Because a situation whereby you do selection and you throw away your popular candidate, and the popular candidate happen to go to a smaller party, he's going to win. Because of this new system that INEC is bringing, we hope that it's going to work the way they have described to us. Once it works that way, and it's one man, one vote, definitely it will reduce all this imposition in the nearest future.
All right.
Because you see that somebody you throw out has won you, then you have no option next time to do the right thing.
All right, Honorable Leke Abejide, Chairman, House Committee on Customs and Excise, we thank you for coming on today. We've also had Mr. Mike Igini, Resident Electoral Commissioner for Akwa Ibom. So thank you for your time as well. Thank you. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.